A lot of freelancers, especially whenever you're starting out, do the entire thing. You shoot, you edit, you do all the sound design, coloring. You're used to doing absolutely everything. But what happens whenever you're hired to just shoot? Let's talk about the process that you can take to make it the best experience possible for your client and how you can give them a reason to call you back. Step 1, the client reaches out. Typically, this is because they know you are capable of whatever it is. They might have seen your portfolio, gotten a recommendation from somebody else, or they already know you. So in this specific case, we're talking shooting. They're hiring you to come film or take photos and deliver RAWs. If this is a new client, I highly recommend figuring out budget and deliverables before you even tell them that you are available. Once you tell them that you're available, they're gonna start pestering you and they might pay you less or they might give you more of a hard time whenever you say no if it's a budget thing. So don't tell them any availability until you hear a number come out of their mouth. This is for new clients, not necessarily pre-existing clients that you already trust. Next up, after that initial conversation, the shoot is scheduled, but it's still a few weeks away. Something that I like to say in this scenario is, hey, I'll pencil in that date for you. Whenever you say you'll pencil it in, it's not confirmed. It's not saying, all right, 100% we're good to go. They still have to confirm on their end. Whenever you say you're penciling it in, it is mentioning that you're gonna block off your calendar. But since it's not totally confirmed, and if it's a travel gig, the travel's not booked yet, you aren't necessarily fully committed to doing it. As time passes and you have that date penciled in, well, you might have another client hit you up for that exact date or that exact time. This is whenever I would recommend going to the initial client who you penciled the date in for, not necessarily mentioning that you have another shoot, but instead you're gonna ask for a confirmation. This is where I typically will get, yep, we're good to go, had a call with the client the other day. We're getting closer to the date and we have to start strategically thinking about what the shoot actually is. Is it an event? Is it a big commercial production? There are a bunch of different things that it can be, and that does affect what you're going to bring on site. One thing I recommend is asking the client if they want to hop on a prep call. So in my specific scenario, I typically work with agencies who hire me to film or take photos. Since I am delivering to another creative agency, there's typically a call that happens between that agency and the direct client that I'm not always involved in. Yes, sometimes I am involved in it, but more often than not, I am not called upon to do that. And it really is the nice thing about being freelance that yes, you might make a little bit less money, but you don't have to hop on the 6 or 7 calls just to get to the point of the shoot day. The call that I'm gonna hop on and the one that I'm gonna recommend is with my agency client. So we can hop on a 15 to 20 minute call talking about the scope of the project and what the day is actually gonna look like. This is where you can ask for a run of show. If you're not familiar with it, a run of show is pretty much just an itinerary throughout the day for what's gonna happen. You can also ask for examples so you can watch them together or look at the photos so that you and everybody else are on the same page whenever you're actually on site shooting. And the other thing you want to figure out is the final goal. If it's a hero video that's going to be cut down, you want to shoot for that. You want to go into the day knowing that you're going to be shooting totally vertical if it's for social media. This allows you to bring the right gear and start to prep and maybe even rent things that are going to help you give a better final product. Rentals sometimes can be out of your pocket or the client's pocket. Just feel it out. If the client wants something very specific like a fisheye lens and you don't have that, that should be on the client's dime. But if for some reason you just want to try an 85mm, but you could pull it off with your 24-70, don't ask the client to pay for that. If you really want to use it, go ahead, but it's not really essential. Another thing to keep in mind, especially whenever you're talking to the client before the shoot, is realizing what brands you're working with. Even though you're working for the agency, if their client is Under Armour, for example, you got to figure out if you can wear Nike or if you have to wear all Under Armour. In my personal experience, when I've shot for Under Armour, they want you in Under Armour from head to toe. When I've shot for Nike, they want you in Nike from head to toe. None of their competitive brands. So if you don't have any of the clothing, maybe ask them for some clothing. If they're not going to provide it, well, you're getting paid $1,000, okay? Go buy yourself an outfit. It sucks, but if you keep the client around, I promise you it'll pay itself off. So now it's shoot day. Let's arrive 15 to 30 minutes early. Yes, it sounds simple, but you are going to hit traffic. You don't want to be late, especially if this is your first impression. If it's your first time meeting this client directly in person, I recommend you asking them to meet up even before the call time. If they say, hey, let's meet in the lobby of the hotel at 9 a.m., maybe meet with them the night before, or meet with them at 8:30 so then everybody else is coming down at 9, but your client, you have already talked to them and you can feel it out without everybody else being around. A perfect example is my first time working for Under Armour. I got to the hotel the night before the shoot and I just texted my client, said, hey man, I'm all checked into the hotel. I know we talked about the run of show and everything about tomorrow, but is there anything you want to meet about beforehand? He replied and he said the other guys that were there have been to plenty of these kind of camps that we were shooting, but if I wanted to meet up with them, then I totally could. So I asked him to come down to the lobby. We ended up just getting to know each other for about 30 minutes, which was super beneficial because when we're on site, I actually know who he is and I can talk to him as a person. It's not my first time meeting him, so it's not this weird interaction at first where it's all work. It's nice getting that guidance from somebody that has been there and has done that multiple times over to make your life easier whenever the shoot actually starts. The morning of the shoot and or as you're rolling up to the shoot, I recommend you just glance over that run of show so you know what the schedule is going to look like. Yes, people will be talking about it on site and it will probably change a million times throughout the day, but it's good to have an idea of when the big things are going to happen. A little thing that I like to do too is just make it my phone background. It sounds silly, but it makes your life really easy whenever you're on site and you can just whip your phone out and it's right there. Instead of you unlocking it, going to your Photos app, scrolling back to your screenshot that was 2 weeks ago, just have it easy and accessible. As the day goes along, I know it sounds kind of weird, but don't ask for too much out of the client. An easy way to gain respect from the client is whenever you're having a little problem with your parking, whenever you're showing up for the shoot. Figure it out. Don't ask them for everything. If you have to decide between two things at the shoot, instead of calling them or running up to them asking them what to do, make the decision. Go with your gut, because a lot of the times, even if you make a mistake, the client is going to be grateful that you're not all up on them, asking them to make every single decision for you. Just as much as you're talented at using a camera, they want you to be a problem solver and make their life easy. You're a professional. You're being hired for a reason. Prove that. And with being a professional, don't overstep your boundaries. I've talked about this in past videos, but when you're on site, you're going to be meeting the agency's client. If the agency's client asks you to do something directly for them, don't do it. All you're going to do is harm your relationship, and the agency is going to be upset that you're trying to steal this client that they've worked so hard to get. If the client asks you to send them something directly, I would recommend that you run it through the agency first, just so you're not stepping on anybody's toes. But if you're told to send directly to the client, by all means, go for it. The shoot is over, and as you know, your job was to deliver raw footage and or photos. Something that you might be asked as you're leaving a shoot, especially if you're doing photo, is for some fast turns. Recently, I was shooting an event at a golf course, and the client that I was shooting for, he asked if I could get him some photos right away. So sometimes I would just pop my memory card into my phone, send them over. In this example, he said it wasn't a real rush and I could just get them to him by the end of the day. So I went home, edited them, sorted through the photos, sent him about 15 photos, and I was good to go. But I still needed to send him the rest of the photos that I did within 48 to 72 hours. When it comes to delivering the RAWs, I recommend you deliver it as soon as possible. You really don't have to do anything to deliver the raw footage. Once you get home from the shoot, dump it onto your computer and start the upload immediately. The faster you get them that link, the happier the client's gonna be. If you are out of town and you're at a hotel, sometimes it is hard to actually upload the raw footage whenever you have 100+ gigs to upload. It's okay to wait till you get home to send that over because it's not gonna end up uploading even if you try it overnight. But at the end of the day, speed is something that is going to help you a ton and help you really maintain these relationships. If it's a first impression and you work fast, well, you might be just as good as the photographer that they've hired in the past, but that photographer took a week to send them what you sent them in less than 24 hours. So that's what's gonna set you apart. So why not? It's really not that hard to do. Last thing, after you send over the link where everything is, the edits, the RAWs, everything's in that one folder, that one link, send them a note. Really enjoyed working together. Can't wait to work together again. Let me know if you need anything else. That's it. That's the whole process, and that's how you're going to keep your clients coming back. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you're not already. Like this video. It means nothing to you, but it helps me And then something new that I'm starting is I want to show you some photos that I've taken from throughout the week. Check these ones out. Just a little personal touch for me to add.